Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethee.
I am stylist Rashi Styles.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.
This is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethee.
Your host, Sethee.
And stylist, Rashi Styles.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we?
Not just a beauty influencer, but a voice for the South Asian community, Hemali Mistry, formerly known as Ready to Glow, started her journey back in 2016 by creating mini online tutorials to market herself as a makeup artist.
Being true to herself and her personality, her brand took off, and Hemali was working with some of the biggest brands in beauty, such as Lise, L'Oreal, Maybelline, Sephora, and Rimmel, just to name a few, raising quite a few eyebrows. Hemali fearlessly started having conversations around mental health issues within the South Asian community and empowering women to follow their dreams. And we all know she's only just begun. So Hemali, welcome to Elevated Grapes and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
The honor is ours. We're super excited. We're going to start really basic and we want to get to know you really well. We want our listeners to get to know you really well because, Rashi and I, we see your content all the time, so we're super in touch with what you're about and some of the messaging you have across. But I think our listeners need to really get the core basics of how this all began, because your journey is incredible. So talk to us about makeup and how you got into the world of makeup and why the world of makeup.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my love for makeup kind of started really young. I used to watch like my sister. I think it always kind of starts like that. I watched my sister do makeup, and she would do like blue eyeshadow, and I just thought it was so pretty and colorful. I was always really artistic growing up. I used to love to draw. So when I saw my sister doing makeup, I was like, wow, like that's like art for your face. That looks like so much fun. So I started like sneaking into her makeup drawer and like taking her stuff and putting it on, always getting in trouble for it. And then as I got into high school, I started experimenting with makeup a lot. Like if you look at old high school pictures of me, like I wouldn't even have like normal eyeshadow on. It would be like animal print, or like I'd draw like eyeballs on my eyeballs. Like it was like always something funky. Like I know times where I skipped class just to like do my makeup in the bathroom. And then as I kind of got older, I headed into university. One of my friends was like, my sister's a makeup artist and she does really well for herself. Like, why don't you do this as a career as well? Like, why don't you get into it? You can, she can teach you the ropes. You can work with her, make some extra money. So I kind of talked to his sister and she was like, yeah, go to school for it. So while I was in university, I went to like a cosmetology school. I did like an 8-week certification course. And from there, after I was done the 8-week course, it was actually like technically 8 days over 8 weeks. I learned my basics, and then I started working under his sister for a couple of years while I was in university. And then after I finished university, I was like, I think this is what I want to do full time, because I fell in love with it while I was doing it throughout university. And I had worked a lot of corporate jobs. So it's not like I didn't kind of go into the corporate world and like experiment and figure like that side out and see if I was missing out. And it just always turned out to be like any corporate job that I worked. Maybe I just worked shitty corporate jobs. I'm not really sure. Or if this was the universe's way of telling me like 9 to 5 is not for you and just gave me shitty jobs. But it was just not for me. Like I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I did actually, after I graduated from university, I did actually work a corporate job. I was working in sales, and I was actually a garbage salesman. So I worked in the waste management like industry, and I sold garbage services to businesses. And so like I was like dumpster diving and like, you know, in garbage dumps, like I rode garbage trucks. It was like the complete opposite of what I do right now. And I lasted maybe 3 months in that job before I was like, I absolutely hate this. Like, I know makeup is my passion. That's what I want to do. So I ended up on like a whim. Like one day I was so frustrated, woke up, I was just so frustrated. I called up my friend and I was like, you think I should quit? And he's like, yeah, do it. And I was like, all right. So then like I quit literally the next week. And from there it's kind of history. And then I started Ready to Glow, started my makeup artistry business. And then it kind of just took off from there. I was supposed to be a bridal makeup artist, but uh, I don't know, there was like a different plan for me, I guess. And I ended up becoming a content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it. Sorry about that. Did that?
Yeah, that's all right.
And yeah, so I ended up becoming a content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, here I am now on this radio show with you guys.
Your story has always baffled my mind, like even what I've read about you, and just hearing it, it's definitely those like that was all signs that you were not meant to do like a whole 9 to 5 thing. And what I find fascinating is that you got into the whole social media.
I'm so sorry. How do I turn this off?
What?
I'm so sorry.
That's
it's
all
like
right.
I just don't want it to like keep going off.
This is the fun of a live show.
How do you turn off
What are you trying to turn off?
my messages, like the sound?
The notifications? What kind of phone is it?
An iPhone, but like it's coming off my computer.
Oh, do you have it connected, like is it like WhatsApp web kind of scenario?
But like, gosh, I'm so like technology.
That's okay. Is there an icon on your
It used to be. Now I don't even see it. Okay, hopefully no one messages me.
No problem. It's okay. We'll deal with the sound if it comes in.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all good.
No.
I'm so sorry, Rashi. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Don't like I said, don't worry. Like we can always adjust stuff. So just. Yeah.
I have no plans on taking that out. I have every plan on leaving it in there. I think it's hilarious.
He will be like bloopers.
Yeah. And then I'm also gonna take that sound and turn it into a song or a beat of some sort.
He's a DJ.
I'm gonna sample.
He's a DJ and he's a producer, so that may actually happen.
You like frantic in the background, like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's gonna be a video of just like Hemali going nuts and just that sound into a beat.
Something like that.
That's it.
Oh my god. Okay, so what I wish we were doing this in person. I actually wish we were doing this in person.
Well, that just means there's gonna be a redo at some point in the future.
Oh, it definitely there will definitely be a redo in the future for sure.
In person.
I'd love that. Okay, so let's just talk about social media. So you got into the whole social media game like very early on in like 2016. Like that's when you were starting up everything, and kind of like right away you were doing what not a lot of makeup artists back then were doing, was actually showing people how to do their makeup and videos. What made you have that mindset? Like you just started it. Like what was your mindset at that time?
So back at like there was people kind of doing it, but it definitely wasn't brown people, that's for sure. And the reason I started doing it was because when I started Ready to Glow back then, I didn't have any clients. So I had actually been in the industry for about 3 or 4 years at that point. That's a lie, like 2 to 3 years at that point. And the girl that I used to work under, she was like, you got all these clients because of me. It's technically under my company name. So if you're going to post these clients or like past work you've done, you have to kind of credit me. And I was like, okay, that's just kind of too confusing, because I didn't want people being like, is she still part of this team? Is she not? Like, how does that work? So I needed to come up with like another game plan. And I was like, this is kind of where my marketing and sales skills kind of came into play. I was like, well, maybe if I'm constantly doing makeup on myself, people can see my skills and they'll book me, and they'll also see my personality through the video too. Because I think that's a big part of booking a makeup artist personally, is booking someone that you get along with, because you're going to be like sitting there with them for an hour. They're going to be like this close to your face. So you want someone that you can get along with, and that was the kind of game plan behind it. Was, okay, maybe if I put my personality out there, people will book me, and it definitely worked. Like I was getting clients that they would tell me, they'd be like, oh, I went to so and so makeup artists who were like really popular in the bridal community, and they're like, but I booked you because I felt like I got along with you really well. And I was like, hey, well, that makes me really, really happy. And then eventually, and my sister and my husband, well, boyfriend at the time, they were both like, you should do it too, because like, why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen out of it? And I was like, well, I don't think anyone's gonna watch me, but whatever, let me just try it out. Like, again, there's no harm done if I just do it. And it just ended up working out for me. It was more of a sales, like, marketing tactic, to really get people onto my page. I also noticed that like those types of videos did kind of well, and I noticed that there wasn't a market of like brown makeup artists doing that kind of stuff. But I also knew that brown women struggled doing their own makeup, right? So I was trying to hit that market while also hoping that people would book me because they could see that I knew what I was talking about.
Did it ever at any point create any confusion about what you actually do? Like, are you, because that's when I mean, content creators were sort of budding at that time, and it was almost becoming a job or a career as well. So was there any confusion as to, like, is she the right fit from, coming in to do my makeup? Because I mean, but you're good, you're teaching and you're educating, which I think is super important as a part of a sales process. But at the same token, it's like, could it be a deterrent factor as well? Did you
Yeah.
find that?
So like I didn't find that too much, mainly because like I also showed clients a lot on my page at the time. Like now you won't see any clients on my page because I don't take clients anymore. But back then, like I wasn't just doing makeup on myself. Like if I went and I booked a client, I was lugging like all my
Yes.
stuff with me, like my ring light, my camera, like all that stuff was coming with me, and I would sit there and film my clients. Like I'd film all my clients. So I was constantly also pushing out content of me doing makeup on other people. And so I don't think it caused any confusion to people because they knew that I was capable of also working on other faces.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So what sort of challenges did you face as you started to gain some popularity online through your different brands and Ready to Glow, I guess, to start with?
So it started becoming kind of overwhelming. It when I first like went viral, that was just overwhelming because it's just not something you expect to happen, and how fast it grew. It was exciting, and I loved it, and I was so happy, but at the same time there's like this influx of also negative energy that comes with it. There's a lot of people that talk down on you and say mean things, and just there's a lot of weird people on the internet. So it I don't I don't get affected too much by those negative comments, but when you're seeing it in the masses like that for the first time, it can be really like just shocking because
Hmm.
it's not something you ever really processed before, or you don't really go through, right? So, I mean, everyone has kind of been bullied in their life in some way or another, but this is like another level at the speed and rate at which it comes in. So that was like something that I definitely needed to adjust to. You also see a change in like the people around you, the way they treat you. I started noticing my friends being, at first they were really supportive, but as like my career kind of went on, you could tell they were getting a little bit weird about it. And like it almost felt like they were using me at times. So that was something difficult to deal with because you don't expect the people around you to change. You expect them to like continue to support you. But then after a while, like you could tell, like they just like didn't care to support me anymore. They thought like, oh, like she's doing fine. Like I don't need to like encourage her or whatever. And like, and you also got like hints of I'd assume it was jealousy. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but like that's what it felt like to me. And it got really rough to deal with, to the point where I had to like let them go. And just I couldn't be around them anymore because it was getting too much. Like I think when you grow like that, there with all the popularity or the good also comes like the bad. And I don't think people notice that a lot, because they'll think like, oh, you're doing so well, you know, your life must be great. And it is. I'm not complaining. Like I'm very grateful for where I'm at now, but I don't think people always realize that there's a lot of negativity that comes with it too, that you have to deal with, whether it's like through family, through friends, through the internet. People are constantly judging you, and it can get overwhelming if you don't know how to like step back from it and, you know, disassociate yourself from it and not actually listen to all that noise. And then also the burnout, the creator burnout's like really really real. I don't think people realize how much work it takes to, you know, push out as much content as I do, or as a lot of content creators do, and to be creative on a whim like that. It's like if you're into any type of art, you would know that art is a process, right? And so to be able to create on a consistent basis and to post every single day, it's exhausting. Like it can really burn you out, and it's not easy. Like people think like, oh, you just take pictures. It's not like that. If you want to keep your audience engaged, if you want them to actually enjoy what you're doing and you want to bring value to their life, you have to come up with new things. You have to come up with things that they can relate to. And it can't always just be like a pretty, you know, some people can get away with it, but like that's not really what my brand is. And so to constantly keep up with that can be really exhausting too, because you can definitely feel guilty about it. You know, you can feel guilty like, oh, I didn't post today. Like, is that going to mess up my algorithm? Is that going to like make me lose followers? Like, how is that going to go? So there's that pressure as well of constantly like being on.
So we're chatting with Hemali Mistry. We're going to take a quick break right here. And she's getting really deep into some of the challenges of a growing brand and a popular brand online, and some of the challenges that come along with that. So we're going to continue that conversation right after this break.
Hey everybody, this is Stylist Rashi Styles. Do not forget to catch us on Rukus Avenue. Also, you can hear us on the Dash Radio app every Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, Rashi, I thought you were bringing us in.
Oh, I am? Okay. I get to do this because he normally does it. So that's why. Hey guys, welcome back. We are talking with the lovable, adorable, and very successful influencer, content creator, and you know, I call her empowering people. Let's have Hemali back, guys. Like, and to touch on what we were going on before. You were saying how difficult it is to sometimes, you know, step away and just deal with all the pressure of being on social media and putting content out, putting content out consistently. And I kind of want to know a bit more on how that journey happened for you. Like you are an influencer today. You have a different messaging behind your content, and at the same time it is still very beauty and like makeup focused. And a lot of people think it's very easy to just wake up and post some photos and talk about a brand and they are an influencer. Can you just give us a bit more insight why that's not the case?
You mean it's not easy? It's not. You mean it's not?
I feel like, I get a lot of comments being like, oh, being a content creator must be so easy, or like, what do you have to complain about? And I'm not going to lie, like, my job is amazing. Like, I absolutely love what I do. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I get. So I don't want to come off like I'm ungrateful in any way. Like, I am very appreciative of everyone that follows me and takes the time to support me. But I don't think people always realize how much work goes into content creation, like how long it takes to film something. Like people will see like a video of me lip syncing to an audio and like me doing my makeup, and they're like, oh, whatever, she's just like, what kind of talent is that? Like she's just using someone else's words and mouthing them and then doing her makeup. Like
How many takes?
sorry?
How many takes?
Oh my God, a minute video like that, like a lip syncing video, a minute one will take me like an hour and a half to do, because like, it's not just like, yeah, lip syncing seems easy. It's not. Like when I first started lip syncing things, I was like, oh my God, I thought it was easy. I was one of those people. I was like, oh my God, this is not a talent. It's a talent. Like to be able to mouth exactly what someone is saying at the speed they're saying it at, and with their accent, the way their mouth moves, like it takes a lot of work. And I don't think people see that, those little like pieces of dedication that content creators put into their work. Like I don't think people see us, like, let's say if we're fashion bloggers or whatever it is, like I don't think people see us taking our like luggage of clothes into public areas and changing in like out in the open, like trying to figure out like how, obviously like we're not getting like butt naked, but like, you know, you're in the corner, like having someone put like a towel in front of you or something like that, or you have like a dress on trying to change underneath the dress. Like I don't think people understand the lengths that we go to like make content, and how long it actually takes us, and like how much thought goes into it. And you know, it takes time. And I was kind of talking about like creator burnout before, and how fast these platforms move now is like ridiculous. Like TikTok, Instagram, they move really fast. There's so many users, there's so many like people posting content, like everyone's an influencer now. So for you to be able to keep up with it, you have to be like on top of it all the time. And it's funny when people say to me like, oh, well, your job is so easy. And I'm like, well, then you do it. I mean, if you think it's easy, and I think anyone can do it, but you have to have like first of all, you have to have some type of personality that people can kind of relate to, but like, which is like kind of a skill on its own. But besides that, like, you have to have that work ethic, right? Because no one's telling you to do it. You don't have a deadline to do it. So you can push that off all you want, right? And so if you're not on top of it and you're not consistently being creative and you know, putting, you know, those deadlines on yourself, you're not really you're not going to make it out there. And I think when people talk about content creation and being an influencer and stuff like that, the part of it that they struggle the most with is being consistent with it, is actually putting out content. Because that's, anytime I've had someone actually try it, that's not a content creator, that they're like, well, I want to do this. Like I remember I was talking to my friend and she's like, I want to get out of makeup and I want to become a full-time content creator. I think I want to do it on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, cool, go for it. Like, I think you would do well. You just got to be consistent with it. She tried for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And she's like, I don't know how you guys do this. Like, this is so much work, because you're not just pushing out one piece of content. It's not just like one thing that you give at the end of the day or whatever it is, and you have the whole day to work on it. It's like, no, it's like every single day you gotta be filming or whatever it is, and pushing stuff out. And another thing that's so exhausting to deal with is captions. Like you want your captions to be like, sometimes it can take me like 30-40 minutes to write some of my captions, especially because I try to talk about topics that are, you know, taboo or controversial. So to be able to talk about something to a large audience like that, it takes time, because you have to curate it and craft it so that it's not like, you know, offensive, or it doesn't trigger people in the wrong way. You have to be really careful with your words. And I don't think people understand the pressures of that too, is like, you don't know how you're going to be, like, maybe it's not your intention, but you don't know how people are going to perceive it online. So there is a lot of careful like calculations and the way we do things, and trying to get it all together and look like we're always put together too, because there's other times where I'm not in the mood. I don't want to be on camera. Like I'm not happy. Like I talk about my mental health problems a lot. There's times where I just don't even want to get out of bed, but I have to, and I have to film, and you see me online and I'm bubbly and happy, but on the inside I'm like dying, you know? And so there's that aspect to it too, is like sometimes you have to put on a face because that's your job. You can't go online just, bawling your eyes out all the time and complaining, because then you're a whiner, you're ungrateful, you're this, you're that, right? And people don't always see that side of it.
They just don't see that you're human.
Yeah. People really don't think that you're human online. Like, they think if you have some type of following, your emotions just go away, as if like you don't read the comments or you don't see people talking about you, or like it's really weird how that happens. And you see it happen with celebrities all the time. And
Mhm.
I have a much smaller scale following compared to a lot of people, and I can see why they go crazy. Like, we would, back in the day, we made fun of Britney for shaving her head and whatever, and like, having that breakdown. I can see why she had that breakdown. Like, now that I'm older and like I see all the shit that I see online, like I can see why. Like, it would drive anyone mad. It would drive anyone mad. And the fact that people can be so cruel is absolutely wild to me, because to me it's like, how do you have the time? Like, how, that's weird. Like,
Mhm.
how do you have time to like do that online? But people do, and it can take a lot. It can take a huge toll on you if you're not mentally prepared for it.
Talk to us a little bit about, just on the content side, like you talked about accountability, and you talked about being self-accountable, because there's no one putting a deadline on you saying you have to have this done by 5 o'clock today, and it's got to post, or you got to have X amount of posts this week, and etc. Like, that's all, it's an entrepreneur life. Like, you have to basically stick to your guns on that consistency. Talk about, because you were jumping into that a little bit, the mental impact of that, the pressure you feel as a human being, because I think that's the side that people, like, as you mentioned, just forget that you're
Yeah.
still a human being, and you still have these internal emotions and pressure points and things will weigh on you, right? Like, so how does that stuff weigh on you when you have to deliver so consistently?
Yeah. So when I first started out, it got to me a lot, because like when you first start out in this like content creator kind of game, numbers can take over your life, right? Like, if you don't separate yourself from the numbers, it can suck you in, and you can go down like a rabbit hole with just awful thoughts, and like, oh my gosh, like, why isn't this post doing well? Like, why am I even trying? Like, does this even, and it can really, really get to you. And I think people don't always realize like how much of a mental toll that takes on you if you don't separate yourself from that. Like, you are like, especially as a creator, you want people to like your work, right? Like, and as an influencer, your whole brand is about people liking you. Like, and so for you not to see the numbers reflect that, sometimes it can very easily turn into like, well, people don't like me, or
Yes,
what's wrong with me,
easily.
or
Yes.
yeah. And like, and you start doubting yourself, right? When it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the fact that, maybe people weren't online at that time. Maybe the algorithm just decided not to push you out. Like, there's just so many other factors. It may not necessarily be that your content is shit, right? And I think a lot of people can start taking that to heart. And
Yes.
so you get this like conflict there too, where you feel like, am I not good enough? That can definitely take a mental toll on you. You can feel like, oh, like maybe I'm just not good enough, and that can cause that anxiety, that depression. You also get the other side of it, where I was talking about the creator burnout, where it's like you just can't come up with new ideas. Like, you're stuck, right? Because like when you're being creative, like creativity is a process. And I think if you're not in some type of like creative field, like in some type of like, you know if you don't have like an art, I would say, like, and art can be like anything, like food, like clothes, painting, like whatever your art is, whatever you're being creative with, you would know that that is a process to develop something that is meaningful and that you like. And what's happening with creators now, because platforms are moving so fast and because the market's really saturated, you feel like you don't always have time to go through a full creative process. You just have to push out content, push out content, push out content. And that can also lead to you feeling like you're not doing stuff that you love anymore, right? And that's happened to me before too, where I felt like I was just like pushing out content that I just wasn't passionate about anymore, and I couldn't relate to anymore. And it wasn't like it wasn't me, but it wasn't something I was super happy to put out, if that makes sense. Like, it was still my ideas. I still like, I never put out anything I don't agree with, but to me in my head, I'm like, I know I could do better. I know I have so much more potential than this, right? And so you can get kind of lost in that, and it can be scary because you start to lose yourself, and you're like, but like, how am I supposed to make money? And then there's that side of it. It's like, okay, well, if I'm pushing out the things I like and it's not getting likes and whatever, and this is my full-time job, well, am I going to get paid? Like, so there's that
The
whole,
balance.
yeah, the balance of it all. And it can get really confusing at times. But I think I eventually just learned, like, I just need to push out things that mean something to me, that I actually resonate with. And if I get like, I just need to come up with different revenue streams. I can't rely on sponsorships and things like that. If I get them, great. And if they're willing to work with me, I know they actually align with my brand, because I'm only pushing out stuff that I like, rather than they're just coming to me because I'm like every other person that fits that kind of mold. And yeah, and I think once I kind of switched my mindset out of that, like, I am not my numbers, I am not my following, I'm not what people want to see. I am just me, and I will put out what I like. And that was the whole reason I got into this in the first place, because this type of work excited me, and if it no longer excites me anymore, why am I doing it? So I had to like really step back sometimes and be like, what am I doing? Is it something that I love? Is it something that resonates with me? If not, then like maybe take a break. Like, and I've done that too. I've like this past long weekend, I took off all from Friday until Monday. I took off those 4 days. I didn't post. Normally I post every day. But I took it off just to like give myself a mental break. And I'm like, you know what? Instagram will always be there. If I lose followers, I lose followers. If it messes up my analytics, it messes up my analytics at this point, but my mental health is more important, and
Absolutely.
what I love is more important.
So we're gonna take a quick break there. We're chatting with Hemali Mistry. She's talking about the pressures of mental health and the business of being a content creator. So I think people forget that it's an actual business, and that's a huge part of being a content creator. So we're gonna take a quick break and come back to that conversation. Hey guys, it's your host Sethee. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Elevated Grapes. Cheers, and let's continue the show.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We are talking to okay, we're just gonna restart that part. Sorry. You're not putting this in bloopers.
Totally, I'm putting you in bloopers. I don't. You have totally. I'm gonna take advantage and throw all over the bloopers. Don't worry about it.
Rashi, breathe.
I'm gonna use all this in the actual show too. Don't worry.
Helping. You know what? You just bring us back, because I'm gonna laugh any second.
So we're sitting down and chatting with Hemali Mistry. Amazing online business journey as a makeup artist and a content creator. A combination of both now with accounts that and I think Rashi, this is what we want to get into. There's been a shift in your accounts and the way you run them and the type of content you put out. So I know Rashi was going to get into a question about that, so I'm going to let you jump in here. But I think that part of the story is really important, because it was you could see that pivot and shift in your business online.
Yeah, like you have an account called Up to No Good, and you taught a lot about mental health issues and topics that are very, very important, and that has caused triggers in some of your followers, and that's where those mean comments unfortunately come on, because people are stupid and they don't realize that you're just talking the truth, and it takes guts to do it. So you fucking morons, just wait before you leave a comment on her stuff. Just wait, just breathe a little bit.
I think Rashi needs to breathe for a second.
Well, it gets me so mad
No, it's
when
true,
I see
though.
those
It's very
comments.
true.
I'm like, this girl is hustling. She's putting the truth out there. like even I think about this stuff, and you have these idiots who are like blah 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 blah, and you're just like that, like are you thinking before you're just like typing? Like what's wrong with you?
Well, specific even to the South Asian community, right? Like, I mean, you talk about and touch on a lot of topics that are important to our community, especially our generation of people that have, been through various challenges, have, go through challenges where it's either, community pressure or, the societal pressure. You got to be a certain way because you're South Asian, and, you can't be like this around this auntie and around that uncle and all that kind of stuff. And you go like you dive deep into like specific examples, which is, I think, incredible. And one more recently, maybe we'll touch on this one and lead into the conversation, but about, toxic parents. And that is an actual thing. And we're not talking about like just parents just being disciplining. That's different. That's not, and that was very clear in your messaging, because I'm like, people are gonna take that out of context. She's talking about actual toxic parents. She's not talking about people who are like parents who are just trying to discipline their kids. It's a very different thing.
Yeah.
But so talk to us about that and the direction you took the online content to, and why you chose to do that.
So I've always been like, if you know me, I've always been a very opinionated person. I'm very open. I'm very like raw. I think if you talk to anyone that's known me for a while, they would tell you that same thing, that I'm very opinionated, and I will speak my mind. I have no problem doing that. And what happened to me from 2016 to about 2018, I would say even 2019, I was having like a really bad like mental health crisis. And online I was like this bubbly personality. And I mean, I am a bubbly person, but behind the scenes there was a lot of like just shit going on that a lot of people didn't realize, like that I was just so depressed and so anxious. And through that, I think through that journey of going through that, I really transformed as a person. I, did so much inner work, so much inner healing. And a part of me was just like itching to like talk about it. And I didn't always feel comfortable talking about it because you have to be really, especially like before last year, you had to be really careful with like how you presented yourself online, especially if it was your career, right? Because if you said things that people weren't really talking about and stuff like that, you could very easily like lose contracts, and companies wouldn't work with you and all that stuff, right? And so it was kind of hard to talk about that kind of stuff. I did talk about mental health, but there was just so much more that I wanted to dive into, like things like, how toxic our culture can be, and like women's rights and violence against women and how women are treated, just like things like that. And yeah, you just had to be really careful. But then last year, what happened was with COVID happening, BLM kind of rose out of it. And I mean, BLM was always around, but the impact that BLM had last year, while like kind of the world was silent, BLM was really loud because it was the only thing you could pay attention to at the time, right? And when that BLM movement happened, there was like a huge shift in my mind. Like it completely changed the way I thought about things. Not only did I take time to like research what was happening to the Black community and just like all the injustices that were happening to it, and just watching all these beautiful Black people speak out about the injustices that happened to them, and not be silenced by their oppressors, and really be themselves and authentic, and stand up for themselves. That like triggered something in me, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my platform at this point? Like, I have all these opinions that I know people want to talk about and want to say, but no one wants to say it, right? Like, it's a hard thing to talk about, and no one's starting that conversation. It's not normalized, and I have all these followers that follow me, support me, look up to me. I have younger girls looking up to me, and I'm like, what am I doing with my platform? Like I can't just be sharing makeup tips and tricks all the time, right? And like there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the type of content you make, that's cool, right? But in my heart, I didn't feel fulfilled, because I knew there was so much that I wanted to talk about and that I had opinions about. So that's where that shift really happened. It was, getting the inspiration through BLM and all of the amazing creators that were just being unapologetically themselves. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, if I'm going to talk about this stuff, now's the time, because now is the time that people are calling out all the injustices that are happening to us. And that's another thing too. It was the timing, because I think a lot of people don't realize is like, in order for you to be able to talk about these things, like, it's already hard as it is, but you need to have people underneath you that are supporting you, right? Because if they're not supporting you, then the people that are above you that are, let's say, paying your bills or whatever it is, you know, giving you sponsorships and stuff like that, they're gonna be like the first to drop you, right? But if you have all these people below, and I think I need people to realize that it's like, I couldn't talk about this kind of stuff without my followers being so supportive of me. If they weren't supportive of me, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today and like talk about these things so openly. And it's because of them I get to say these things. So I think people look at me and be like, "Oh, you're so brave," and blah blah blah, and like, thank you for talking out. But a lot of that credit goes to people continuously supporting me and backing me up, because like without it, I wouldn't be here. Like without it, I'd just kind of be destroyed. So yeah, it was that kind of cultural shift that you saw, that people were okay. And it was, you also saw this shift on TikTok too. I think TikTok had a huge impact on our culture last year, and especially last year, I mean. And you saw people being so raw and authentic and unapologetically themselves. And these younger people than me, like Gen Z, they were so open about like injustices that were happening and talking so intelligently about them. It was so inspiring to watch. And I wanted to be part of that, because I felt like if I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna call myself an influencer, then like I need to back that up. I need to be influencing in some way. It can't just be like, buy some makeup. I don't want to influence you to just buy some makeup. I want to create a revolution inside of you. I want you to feel like you come to my page and you feel welcome, like you feel like you're seen and you're heard, and that you don't need to always fit in and look a certain way and all this stuff. Like, you can be yourself, and it's good. And especially being in the beauty industry, you can see how like nasty people can be, especially when it comes to women and their looks. And I remember growing up just like hating the way I looked, like hating everything about myself. And I didn't want that for the next generation. Like, I wanted the next generation to see someone that was just like them, same skin color, same amount of hairiness, like same amount of like ingrowns in their, when they shave their legs, and just stuff like that, dark circles. Like, I wanted them to see that, so that to them it's like, okay, well, this is realistic. Like, this is like, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that looks like this. And then same with my Up to No Good page. That one kind of goes beyond, I think, on my Hemali Mistry page, like where I started all my makeup stuff, like that one I will talk a little bit more about like women empowerment and like beauty standards and things like that, and like breaking down beauty standards, just because that's kind of the theme of that page. But on my Up to No Good page, I'll go into a lot of controversial and taboo topics, because I think there was a lot that I learned about our culture and the way, and especially like when I was going through my healing journey between like 2016 to 2019, and I started discovering a lot about myself and why I thought the way I thought, and my upbringing, and just all this stuff. Like, I felt like, maybe other people don't realize this about themselves. Like, they're so quick to blame themselves about stuff, but they don't realize the society that they grew up in and the impact it has on their upbringing and why they could be a certain way, right? And once I was able to do all that introspection, I was like, this is stuff that I need to share. Like, there needs to be other people going through this similar journey and needing some type of validation, because when I was going through that journey, I didn't have any validation. Like I didn't know I was just learning this stuff on my own and figuring it out on my own, and like trying to read books and, just change the way I thought and all this stuff. And I just felt like, if I have this platform, maybe I can just jumpstart that journey a little bit, help people figure out things a little bit faster, because then they don't have to go through this entire process that I went through. And that was kind of the point of Up to No Good, was to bring to light all these uncomfortable things that we don't always want to admit to ourselves, and we don't always want to like talk about, because it can be embarrassing or confusing or just triggering in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're never gonna do another show again because Himali's dropping mad knowledge right now.
I know,
Like
seriously.
mad knowledge right now.
Part two, part
Is
three here.
yeah, this is such incredible information. We do have to take a quick break, Rashi. I know you have something to say, but I'm gonna let you come back and say that. We've got to take a quick break right now, and we're gonna come back and continue this conversation. This is Elevated Grapes, and we have Hemali Mistry with us.
Hi everyone, I'm stylist Rashi Styles. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram as Elevated Grapes and show some love.
Hey guys, it's your host Sethee. We're also on TikTok, so make sure you follow us there at Elevated Grapes. Cheers, and back to the show. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So guys, welcome back. We are talking with this powerful force. Her name is Hemali Mistry. She is literally a powerful force. And what we have been talking about, mental health, being a content creator, what it's like to do that in the beauty industry. And one of the burning questions that I want to ask her is, how do you feel that the industry has changed since you started back in 2016 and today, with the whole different movements on social media and just the beauty industry by itself?
So I've seen such a huge change in just like the culture around content creating, for sure. Like I think everyone wants to be a content creator now. So you've seen a huge shift in like how many people are pursuing that career, which is amazing. I mean, like if you can do that for yourself and you can make a living off of it, by all means, like I encourage you to do it, because if you're doing something you love, then that's all that matters. But you do see a lot more people doing it now. So you've seen this huge shift of using like social media for like personal use, to like using social media in order to either promote yourself as like an influencer or promote your brand. And like now everyone's kind of a small business influencer or a business owner. It's so much easier to like promote your products online and stuff like that. And honestly, that makes me really happy, because like why work a 9 to 5 if you don't have to? And I think some people might think of it as like competition, but I really don't. I think there's enough room for everyone. I mean, there's billions of us in this world. So, everyone has their own unique thing to bring to the table. In terms of the beauty industry, I've noticed a huge shift in like curated content. And what I mean by curated content is just how filtered things can be. It kind of scares me a little bit. Like, I feel like it kind of causes like body dysmorphia in a lot of younger, I mean, even older women too, but like a lot of younger girls, even people our age, like in their 20s and 30s, like I can see why you have a lot of people that are insecure about the way they look, because there's such a huge difference in the way people edit their pictures now. Like everything is edited, you can cinch in your waist and make your nose smaller and your lips bigger. And like when I see the before and afters of some of these like pictures, I think recently actually, I'm not sure if you guys heard about that whole Khloe Kardashian scandal. Did you guys hear about that? Do you know what happened?
No,
Which one was that?
I've not heard that one.
Basically, a picture got leaked of Khloe Kardashian, and it was unedited.
Oh,
and
right.
It was of her in a bikini, and she looks amazing. Like she looks like freaking great. Like, I mean, it looks like a regular body, but she was like, her and her team were like rushing to take it down because all her pictures are very edited and look a certain way, right? And so like it kind of like exposes her as like that's not what she really looks like, right? And that kind of, I mean, and that's her own problem. Like I'm not going to touch on that. That is what it is, right? But like it kind of scares me in the sense that like there's so many people looking at that being like, man, I don't look like that, or man, and you see this like huge, I've seen a huge increase in like plastic surgery and like
Mhm.
fillers and Botox and all this stuff. And it scares me a little bit because I'm like, what's wrong with what you look like? Like, and
Mhm.
why
Yeah.
does everyone look the same now? That's
Yes.
also really creepy
Yeah.
to me. Like, why do you all have the same face? No one should
Yeah.
have the same face, Like, it should be like a one in a million thing where you find someone accidentally that has the same face as you. Not like I'm scrolling through Instagram and three
And it's
people
every
that
single
I
person.
scroll
Yeah.
past have the same face as me. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And like, I think that part of it, I've noticed a huge shift in like the beauty culture and like what's considered beautiful is like this. It just, I think it's like getting further and further away from reality. And that's what scares me because I'm like, no one has a waist that's like 1 centimeter big and then like hips that are like voluptuous. Like, you know what like no one's built like that. And all these girls online showing off their bodies and whatever. Like, if you want to do plastic surgery, that's on you. I don't care. But like, um, it scares me that there's girls looking at it being like, man, she looks so good and why don't I look like that, thinking that that's
Mhm.
natural. And I'm like, get plastic surgery, but just like disclose it,
Hmm.
disclose that you're doing it. Like, just like, don't play it off like this is just what I look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like and I see it filter into my comments too, because people will be like, well, what's your workout routine? How do you get your waist so small? I'm like, you do not want to look like me. We're not built the same. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to give you a workout routine and be like, this is how I like, no, like I'm just small. That's just how
Hmm.
I was born. That's just my body type. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong with what you look like. You don't need to look like me.
Hmm.
You look great the way you look. And I think that shift has really frightened me in the sense that I feel like there's just too many people that feel like they don't belong, like they're this outcast or that they'll never be beautiful. And I'm like, beauty standards were already unrealistic for people, women especially. And now I think kind of social media has taken it to another level because literally everything can be edited. Even videos now can be edited to like cinch in your waist and all this stuff. And it like, and I think it's going to cause, I mean, it probably is already causing like a serious problem
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
how the younger generation especially like views themselves.
So do you not like, I mean, so social media is a place where you've built a career, but at the same token, it's also created a lot of these issues for a lot of people because there's a responsibility on some, people who have made it big and built their careers and who are probably not taking the accountability for their actions, like you mentioned, like you're not being real about some of the photos they're posting or some of the plastic surgery they've gotten or whatever the case. As someone in the beauty world and seeing that and seeing what younger people are looking up to, where's the responsibility of our influencers and our people who've made it in this industry to take accountability for that? Like where do you think that lies in, from your perspective, and do you think that it's going to get any better at the rate it's going?
I think a lot of these influencers also just don't know how much they've been influenced too. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Being in that, it's kind of like if you were to go into the modeling industry, right? Like, you may not, and when you're walking into it, you may not necessarily realize, you may not necessarily think that you're fat or whatever.
Mhm.
But then you come into the industry and you see everyone else that looks a certain way, acts a certain way, does a certain thing, and you feel like, okay, well, you need to do that too to fit in,
To
right?
fit
So I
in.
don't even know if a lot of influencers even realize the impact that they have when they do these things. I also don't like it because I think we're all just kind of getting brainwashed by it.
Hmm.
I do think like it's hard to say. Like, I do think a part of the accountability is on an influencer, but at the same time, they're just like living their life. They're
Of
doing
course.
what
Yeah.
they want to do, right? And so they never technically signed up to be anyone's role model. But with that being said, I think you should kind of have a general understanding that if you are in a position of influence, in a position of power where a lot of people are looking at you, just just know that your actions are going to have some type of impact on people's lives, right? And with that, I think it's just better to be as honest as you possibly can. You know, you don't have to. I wouldn't force that on anyone. I don't expect it of anyone. I think it's just something that you should be doing out of like the goodness of your heart, because you know that this is what can happen. Like, you know that, right? At the end of the day, I think ultimately the responsibility of that kind of falls on your parents to really teach you like what's right, what's wrong. Like, you know, it's not like I can't look at Cardi B and be like, you're messing up my child. Like,
Right.
that's not Cardi B's responsibility. And I think the same of like beauty influencers and stuff like that. It's not
Yeah.
like they didn't decide to have my child. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But at the same time, I think you need to understand, and it depends too, right? Like, for example, like in the beauty industry, like Cardi B may just have an older following, right?
Audience, yeah.
Like an older audience. So it's a bit different, right? Whereas like these beauty influencers may have a younger following because they're the YouTube generation. They're the ones that watch everything online. They're not so engulfed in like the into like the like Hollywood media type of deal. So I think it kind of understanding your following too, and then taking accountability in that sense, knowing like, okay, well, I know it's not technically your responsibility. Like, you didn't sign up for that job, but whether you like it or not, you're going to have an impact. Like, it's what you do is being watched, and it's going to affect people in different ways. And so if you as a person can understand that and do what makes you happy, but don't be like fake about it, right?
Yes.
Like, don't lie about it. Don't be like, this is what I look like all the time. Like, I think that's where the reality really gets
Yes.
skewed, right? Like, I think it's like, because then you feel like, wow, she looks so perfect all the time, and I don't. And it's like, no, at least show them that that's not what you look like all the time. But at the same time, it's like, I think everyone's brainwashed, right? Like, I think at that same time, it's so hard to say. Like, I think everyone's brainwashed, so they also feel like maybe I can't show that side of myself, because then everyone's gonna think I'm
Absolutely.
fraud, or like everyone's gonna think that this isn't like reality, right? And I literally actually just made a video because I get a lot of comments being like, you know, you wear so much makeup, or you like do makeup online and whatever, and dress up like this, but then you promote self-love, and like, why is that, right? Like, how can you be doing it? And I'm like, those things aren't like mutually exclusive. I hope you understand that. Like, you can love yourself and want to dress up, and also, you know, you can you don't have to hate yourself to have to dress up, or you don't have to hate yourself to like wear makeup, right? And I was like, I think this idea that women need makeup to look pretty, like, that needs to change. Like, it needs to change to like, makeup is like an accessory, not a necessity, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like something you need to cover up your ugly. Like, you're pretty without it. Same thing with I think plastic surgery as well. Like, you don't need it. And whenever I get people DMing me asking me like, you know, should I get a boob job, or like, should I get this done or whatever, I'll be like, honestly, that's up to you. Like, I'm not gonna
The
say,
personal decision.
yeah, like, that's a personal decision. But what I can say is, if you feel like you're ugly without it, you're gonna feel ugly with it, regardless. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, because your confidence doesn't come from what you look like. It comes from within. It comes from like you feeling good about yourself, you being happy with where you are, grateful with where you are. If you feel if you didn't have that and you still feel happy, then sure, go get a boob job, just because like that's what you want, you know, that's what you like to look like, whatever. But if you feel like you're doing that to make up for something, if you feel like you're wearing makeup to make up for something, or getting a boob job to make up for something, or getting lip fillers done to make up for something, because you think that like you are going to look, then you're just going to find another problem once that thing's done.
Exactly.
You're just going to find another thing to pick on, another, you know, and it's never going to end. Right. So yeah, I don't know. it's a social media is a scary. Like it's so great, but it's such a scary.
It is a scary
Yeah,
place.
it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
You touched on something really important there. You talked about self-confidence and self-belief, self-awareness, like that concept. You did a reel a while ago where you were talking about affirmations. Talk to us about how you feel affirmations play a role in some of that self-confidence, or at least from your journey and your perspective, how it played a role in your world, in your life.
Yeah, I used to talk. I can't even begin to tell you how much I used to talk down on myself, and it wasn't even like I noticed it. It was just like I would just say like I would just see stuff, like it would be like nonchalant like comments. They'd be like, oh, it's because I'm like ugly, or it's because like I'm stupid, or like
Mhm.
I would talk like that all the time, and it's absolutely crazy how much your brain is like tricked into thinking that that's true, right? Like it becomes you, like you start believing it on a subconscious level,
Yes.
and um in the only way to kind of get out of that is to talk your way out of it. I think like
Right.
it's actually like I guess fake it till you make it, right? Like it's like one of those things where you have to constantly talk to yourself in a certain way, in like in positive ways. Like I had to like make sure that I caught myself when I was like self-deprecating. Like I had to stop myself and be like, actually, no, wait. Like I and you can see it in my journal entries when I when I
Mhm.
like journal stuff. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And then it'd be like, actually, you know what? I believe in myself. Like I would have to
Yeah.
change it.
Right.
Like, and you can see that in the lines, right? Like it would be like doubtful. And then I'd be like, no, but like
I
I will
can do
figure
it.
it out. I figured it out in the past before. And like changing your mindset to like get, and it really took me out of a dark place. And you don't realize how much, I think when you're growing up, other people do it to you, right?
Yep.
And then as you get older, you don't even need those other people anymore. You just do it to
Do it
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
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 And like unlearning all of that is such a process. And I think a part of that process is learning how to be nice to yourself and talking nice to yourself, because I think that's one of like the most awkward things to do, is like to say nice things about yourself and like actually big yourself up, because you're like, I don't want to come off as like conceited. I don't want to come off as like whatever. Like I think I'm so much, and that was another thing I would hear about myself a lot growing up, is because I thought very differently than the people around me. They'd be like, she thinks she's better than everyone. And so I just like I never used to talk good about myself, because I was like, I don't want people to think that I think I'm better than everyone. I don't want them to think that I feel like, I'm cocky or whatever. And after a while I was like, what is that? Like, why am I saying that to myself? Like, if I've done something good, then yeah, I deserve to talk about it. I don't need to go out of my way to like brag
Both.
about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
boast and like whatever. But like, it's okay for me to feel like, I look good today. It's okay for me to say that. That doesn't make me cocky. That's just a fact. It's just a
Yeah.
statement. And once I started doing that for myself, once I started like looking at myself in the mirror and being like, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am happy, like just things like that. Like I started noticing a shift in my mind. I started noticing a shift in my environment as well to reflect those things, because I really don't think people realize how much their words affect their reality, how much their
It's true.
thoughts affect their reality. And
Absolutely.
it's so true. Like, I mean, what else would affect your reality? That's the only thing, right? Like how you perceive the world, how you take on your problems, and how you go about wanting to solve your issues and whatever. That's the only thing. And to get out of it is for you to have to, be disciplined and actually be nice to yourself and like compassionate to yourself and kind to yourself. And I think that's where um, you start looking at the outside world as if it's like bad and like
Mhm.
against you and like all this
Mhm.
stuff, when you're not nice to yourself. Because you're not nice to yourself, when you look at other people or you look at the world around you, you're just like, well, I would never do that. Why would they? Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
no, I would never say that. Why would they say that? Or like, and you just like, because you already have all these bad thoughts about yourself, you assume the worst in other people too,
Yes.
right?
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
And
reflect
so
it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and so you're just projecting all of that, right? And
Yes.
so, and then you get into this reality of like, like you start attracting that same energy, right? Because that's the energy you're giving off too. So you're attracting that same energy, and then you're just like, see, I knew it. I knew like I'm the worst person, or I knew like, and it's like, but you're creating that confirmation. Like
Yeah.
your brain is looking for those signals for you to like confirm that that's your reality, that you're right. So why not change your brain to look for signals that are actually benefit you, that actually make you feel happy, that make you feel good? And I think that can be done through positive like affirmations, as awkward and weird as it is to do. But after a while, I think, I don't know if you guys practice positive
I do
affirmation.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like after a while, it's not weird anymore. It's just
No.
awkward at the beginning, but now it's like whatever. Like, yeah,
Yeah. It's just,
I'm
yeah. It's
It feels like, but I feel like
it's
also
like
when you do
brushing your
that,
teeth.
well,
yeah,
also like I feel like when you start to do that, then you'll start to see how the opposite of that is odd and awkward and weird. The
yeah,
negative thoughts and the negative
Yeah.
affirmations, I guess you can call them, right? Like the things that would have put you down before. Like then you start thinking, well, why was I that person? Why did I do that to myself? That
yeah.
becomes
Yeah.
awkward and weird.
Yeah. I
And
mean, there's like we could have an entire separate
Yeah.
podcast conversation on this topic, especially because I've been diving so deep into it, and I think it's so important for the world to just start talking nicely to themselves, and that kind of like reflects on what they're doing and how they see others, and that genuine happiness comes out. But it's a conversation we'll save for another time, because if not, we will go on
I
all night. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love this. I love this. Yeah.
honestly, the way I was telling my husband this, I was like, the way that the world, like, there is one way that we could solve world problems and actually like live with as many people as we have on this earth, comfortably and happy, and like live with each other properly, and not have as many problems as we do. And the only way to do that is if everyone like reflected in like inward, like everyone did some inner healing and kind of unlearned all the shitty things that they've learned. I mean,
Hmm.
and that's in like a perfect world, right? Like, but
Yeah.
I think that's the only way you would actually solve so many of the world's problems, because otherwise there's too many people that don't do that, and so it's just easy to blame other
Absolutely.
people, you know.
Awesome. So we got to wrap up this conversation. Um, I want to thank you so much
Yes.
for sharing. I
Thank you,
mean,
Hemali, so much.
but I didn't expect anything less, because like you're just you're all about being raw and real, and so we thank you for being like that in general, and obviously on the show as well. It means a lot that you're just being yourself and saying it as you feel it and as it comes. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. I had such a great time talking to you, and your questions were amazing. I feel like it really helped me open up, so I appreciate that.
Awesome. And not that we need to ask this, but just for those that are listening, we'll have it in the description. Drop a couple of your socials so people know where to find you, so they can follow and continue to follow your journey and story. Because I'm gonna assume it's only going to continue to get better and better as it goes on.
I hope so. So my main Instagram page where I do all my makeup and beauty stuff is at Hemali.Mistry. So HEMALI.MISTRY. And then my page where I'm talking about more like controversial taboo topics is at Up to No Good. That's up.know. Oh, no, I said that wrong. up.to.know.god. Like
So
forgetting
up
how.
up to no good with dots in between.
Yeah, up to no good is not, but the two is like TO and the no is like KNOW.
Gotcha.
And that's where I talk about more of my controversial stuff.
Awesome. So to our listeners, please definitely follow Hemali's story. It's awesome. If you don't already, you're gonna spend hours just going through and and watching, because it's a lot of fun, and there's some great messages in there. So again, thank you for that. We're gonna have to have you back on the show when we're all allowed to get together in person and do this in real life.
I would love that. I would love that. This is a great conversation, and I can talk for hours. So I'm always down to come back.
We're gonna get a special edition from the radio station and get like a 2-hour segment or something, so we don't feel like we have to cut off. Yeah. Like we need 2 hours this week. Exactly. Awesome. So thank you again so much. And we'll have you back. And to our listeners, this is Elevated Grapes. I am your host, Sethee, and
And I'm Rashi Styles, and we will see you guys until the next time.
Cheers. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethee.
I am stylist Rashi Styles.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.